The name of this video is actually clickbait. Actually, at 18 I have already watched more than 10,000 films, but I did not count the films that I rewatched. I evaluate movies, I have my own personal ranking, sometimes I write reviews, and in general I'm deeply involved in all of this. And all of this is just my hobby. By profession, however, I'm a colorist. And by the law of the genre, I should start telling you my story, how I began watching movies and what it all led me to and so on. But let me first answer the most important question: why? Why did I spend such a huge part of my life watching movies and cartoons? After all, there are so many interesting and important things in the world. And I will answer you with the word of a classic, because it's so much fun, Jen! Throughout the entire video I recommend you keep these words in mind, even though they may seem like a joke and not serious. By the end of the video you will understand everything. Oh, look at him! This little kid is me. Here I'm about 5 or 6 years old. Doesn't matter. What matters is that by this moment I had already watched around 100 films and about the same number of cartoons. I watched everything, from big blockbusters to melodramas, from fairy tales to horror movies, everything that my father watched and showed me. He was a devoted movie fan, so it's no surprise who I took after. I remember how as a child I found a disc with the movie Iron Man at my father's place. I instantly fell in love with that film, and already at that moment I had rewatched this movie about 10 times, and I was eagerly waiting for the second part. When I grew a little older, my passion for movies only increased. I was watching several films every day. I always asked my parents to take me to the cinema, and for me that was pure happiness. While my classmates were into Lego or Angry Birds, I was watching movies. In short, I think you got it. I've been immersed in films literally since childhood. And you know it drives me crazy when watching movies is called a useless or meaningless pastime. In fact, no matter how silly it sounds, movies teach you about life. Yes, movies for the most part do not reflect real events, but they do reflect real people and their actions. Movies are made by people. They put their own nature into their work. Based on how directors and screenwriters make films, you can trace their story, their struggles, their experience. Even if the movie is not about that at all. In films I saw thousands of stories, maybe not completely real, but realistic enough, showing the rotten nature of people. People for the most part are hypocritical, greedy and cruel creatures. And I already knew all of this even before going to school. And honestly, I don't know where else you can understand life so deeply as through films. Maybe only in books, but I was never able to read them because of poor concentration. I was bored, and still am. And if you cannot read books, movies can become a great solution for you. Do not believe the prejudices of old people and marketers. And so the years went by. I watched movies and everything was fine, but this story also has a sad part. At the age of 14, I was diagnosed with depression. It was one of the worst periods of my life. Endless longing and sadness, insomnia and the darkest thoughts. At that moment in life, I didn't want anything at all. I rarely watched movies, stayed at home and felt unbearable pain. It doesn't really matter why I had depression. In this story, only the fact of its presence matters. In that state I spent more than 2 years. And one day, when I was still feeling just as awful, I suddenly remembered a very good film that I once watched in my childhood. This movie is called The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith in the main role. A very good film. I strongly recommend everyone to watch it. In short, the movie is about how Will Smith's character tried to find a job. But the thing about films is that every person will find their own meaning in them. At that moment I asked myself a question: what is happiness really? The film conveyed to me. It would seem very simple thoughts. Everyone has their own happiness. For someone, like the hero of the film, happiness was to get a job. For someone else it might be to build a house. We all live different lives and find ourselves in different situations. I thought, what exactly is happiness for me? After a short reflection I realized that for me happiness is to do what I love, in a pleasant atmosphere and at any time convenient for me. As you may have guessed, this was the main reason for my depression. I had no happiness. I could not do what I loved and where I wanted to do it. I know, for some of you this doesn't sound like something that can even be called happiness, but that's the whole point. In life, you need to find your own happiness, and once you find it, do absolutely everything possible to achieve it. Why am I telling you all this? Such thoughts came to me because of a film. Isn't that the magic of cinema? I think my story might have inspired many of you to start watching movies. And I know, earlier I often faced a very big problem. How to watch movies. I mean, where do you even find them? Which genres should you watch and so on? Let me give you a few tips that I developed with experience. Stop looking for movies through all kinds of top lists and reading film synopses. Watch movies without knowing what the film is about at all. Well, maybe you can glance at the rating. I'll allow that much. Instead of various top lists, watch films by actors and directors. Let's take, for example, the film Man on the Moon. Jim Carrey played the main role there. Then you look at which other films Jim acted in. Oh, maybe I should watch Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. Why not? And so on. And if movies are not just leisure for you, but also a useful pastime, for example, if you're a beginning director, pay attention to details. How's this shoot filmed? How's the light set here? Cinema can not only entertain, but also be a teacher. So, what do we have? Movies helped me understand how this world works. Movies pulled me out of depression. And also, thanks to movies, I was able to find my calling. And you can too. And I will explain how. It so happened that I always wanted to do something connected with cinema. At first, I wanted to become either an actor, or a director, or a screenwriter. In one of my videos, I talked about my experience in editing and directing. But then I decided to understand how psychology works in films, how filmmakers manage to create the right atmosphere. In real life, I met some guys who were connected with the film industry. I was 15 or so, and they offered me to learn color grading. I saw how with the help of color you can control the viewer's attention, and I immediately fell in love with it. Then, in the studio, I worked on different projects, with music videos, with films, or with commercials. Now I have moved into freelancing. I know there are many talented cinematographers or directors among you, so if you need color grading for your project from someone with huge film watching experience, let's work together. The link to my Instagram is in the description. I wanna say that you have problems with self-determination. The movies are also way out. In films, you see thousands of stories, thousands of professions. By watching movies, you can, quite literally, find your calling, find your happiness. You don't necessarily have to learn only from your own experience. Learn from the experience of other people. Learn from the experience of actors. Learn from the experience of directors. Learn from the experience of characters in films. You don't even need to get off the couch for this. Get inspired and develop yourself. And if after all this you have chosen your own path, never turn away from your path and strike in one spot, as Bruce Lee taught. I know how difficult it can be, but please believe in yourself. If you are confident in your abilities, you will succeed. The most important thing is, never stop believing in yourself, because who else besides you truly knows your real potential. I hope this video brightened your day. By my color grading. Bye bye!